The entire sports world is in panic right now, because brand new insider leaks just exposed something so sneaky, so calculated, and so deeply hidden in the fine print of Caitlin Clark's rookie contract that even veteran analysts are calling it the biggest manipulation in WNBA history. Fans are stunned. Players are furious. Reporters are scrambling. And the league? Silent. Completely silent. Because while everyone was focused on ticket sales, TV ratings, historic attendance, and the massive cultural wave Caitlin brought to the WNBA, the owners were quietly making moves behind the scenes, moves designed not to support her, but to control her. This wasn't an innocent oversight. This wasn't a clerical error. This wasn't some random contract clause nobody noticed. This was a plan. A coordinated, deliberate, strategic decision made in boardrooms full of executives who saw Caitlin not as a rookie, but as a gold mine. And now the truth is leaking, and it's bad. Sources say WNBA owners inserted a set of special stipulations in her rookie contract that no other first-year player has. Stipulations that limit her leverage, cap her earnings, tie her to league commitments she never agreed to, and restrict her ability to negotiate the only thing everyone assumed she'd be guaranteed: power. Because Caitlin's rise wasn't luck, it was a phenomenon. One that threatened the league's hierarchy. One that terrified owners. One that forced them to act fast, before she became the most dominant business figure the WNBA has ever seen. And the craziest part? They hid it in plain sight, knowing nobody would catch it until it was too late. But now that the leaks are out, the backlash will change everything. Because what these owners slipped into her contract could cost Caitlin millions, and her future. Long before the contract leaks blew up the internet, long before analysts began panicking on live TV, long before fans started demanding explanations from the league, and long before insiders began whispering about rigged fine print, there was already a secret tension brewing behind closed WNBA doors. A tension the public never saw, because while Caitlin Clark's rise looked like a fairy tale from the outside, inside the boardrooms, it was treated like a threat. A financial threat. A power threat. A cultural threat. A control threat. Because the moment Caitlin stepped out of college basketball and into the WNBA spotlight, everything shifted. Overnight, she became the face of the league, not just a player, but a brand, a magnet, a force that moved numbers the league had never seen before. Ticket sales skyrocketed. Merch went out of stock. TV networks begged for her games. Sponsors lined up with checks. Arena attendance broke decade-long records. It was instant brilliance, the kind of impact executives dream of. But here's what fans didn't know. The WNBA was not ready for someone like her. For 27 seasons, the league had maintained a certain system, a certain hierarchy, a certain control structure that kept power in the owner's hands. Players came in, played well, promoted the league, and left. But no player, not even past legends, had ever threatened the league's internal power dynamics the way Caitlin Clark did on day one. She wasn't just valuable. She was too valuable. She didn't just draw crowds. She dominated attention. She didn't just raise the league's profile. She overshadowed it. Executives began worrying, not about her success, but about her potential to become bigger than the WNBA itself. They didn't want another scenario like the NBA experienced with Michael Jordan, an athlete whose influence eventually eclipsed the league's corporate authority. And with Caitlin, that fear kicked in faster than anyone expected. And that fear shaped everything that followed. Because while fans were celebrating her draft night, owners were having emergency meetings. While broadcasters raved about her rookie year, owners were exchanging private emails. While young girls wore her jersey to school, owners were calculating risk management strategies. The question they kept asking wasn't, "How do we help Caitlin?" It was, "How do we contain her?" Because her impact came too fast, her fame soared too high, and her leverage became too powerful for their comfort. And the WNBA, unlike the NBA, was a league still desperately trying to control its narrative, its finances, its players, and its public perception. Enter the rookie contract. Fans thought it was standard. Journalists thought it was routine. Even some players didn't realize what was buried inside it. Until now. Because insiders are revealing that Caitlyn's rookie contract wasn't written like the others. It wasn't a template. It wasn't copied and pasted from prior rookies. It was customized, specifically tailored by owners who saw what was coming long before the rest of the world did. They saw the record-breaking attendance. They saw the billion-dollar NCAA numbers. They saw the endorsements lining up. They saw the social media dominance. They saw the global attention spike. They saw the storm before it touched the league. And they panicked. According to sources, the owners insisted on adding clauses designed to protect league integrity, maintain competitive balance, and ensure equitable branding. But when you remove the corporate fluff and translate the language into real meaning, the clauses boil down to one thing. Control Caitlyn's power before she even knows she has it. This wasn't about basketball. This was about business. Because Caitlyn's value as a player is massive, but her value as a brand. That's historic. And WNBA owners weren't prepared to let a 22-year-old phenom walk into the league and immediately gain the negotiating leverage of a decade-long veteran. They weren't willing to let her earn more than the system allowed. They weren't willing to let her brand dictate league decisions. And they definitely weren't willing to let her rewrite the economics of women's basketball overnight. So while she was posing with her draft jersey and answering emotional interview questions, owners were tightening legal language behind the scenes. The extra stipulations inserted into her contract didn't happen by accident. They weren't random. They weren't minor. They were intentional. Strategic. Coordinated. A quiet alliance formed between key owners, one that insiders say was driven by fear of Caitlyn becoming too influential too quickly. Their goal wasn't to harm her. It was to slow her down. Because a rookie with superstar power isn't just rare, it's dangerous to people who want to stay in control. And this is where the story becomes even more shocking. Sources say these clauses were hidden in sections no casual reader would ever look at. Tiny paragraphs. Subsections. Footnotes inside footnotes. They took advantage of the league's outdated CBA structure, knowing Caitlyn was entering at a historic moment when nobody had time to scrutinize fine print. They slipped restrictions where no one would notice until much later. Restrictions on endorsements. Restrictions on media commitments. Restrictions on brand partnerships. Restrictions on appearance fees. Restrictions on off-season flexibility. Restrictions on renegotiation windows. But the most controversial one? A restriction that allegedly caps her ability to renegotiate early, even if she shatters every rookie record in league history. In other words, even if Caitlyn becomes the highest-selling player the WNBA has ever seen. Even if she triples league revenue. Even if she becomes the face of women's sports globally. She may still be stuck in a contract designed for someone worth 1% of her value. And owners wanted it that way. Here's the deeper truth. Caitlyn's rookie contract wasn't designed to reflect her talent. It was designed to limit her leverage. Because the league knew her worth would explode immediately. They knew fans would demand she be paid more. They knew brands would overwhelm her with deals. They knew networks would want her exclusively. So they acted before the explosion, building walls around her opportunities. But the real story, the one that is about to rock the league, is why they did it now. Insiders say owners were terrified of a scenario where Caitlyn Clark becomes the first WNBA player to demand NBA-level pay. The first to force a new broadcasting contract. The first to negotiate her own media rights. The first to pressure owners publicly. The first to rewrite the league's power structure. They didn't want history to change too fast. They didn't want the league's economics broken apart. They didn't want a rookie forcing evolution. So they built the contract as a cage, a golden one. The world thought Caitlyn Clark joined the WNBA. But according to these leaks, She joined under restrictions no other star has ever faced. And the fans are just now realizing what the owners hoped they'd never see. Caitlin Clark's contract wasn't designed to honor her greatness. It was designed to contain it. The first sign that something was wrong didn't come from a reporter, a league insider, or even a teammate. It came from a lawyer, not a sports agent, not a union rep, but a contract attorney who happened to be a Caitlin fan and decided, out of sheer curiosity, to look into the publicly available portions of her rookie deal. And within minutes, she noticed something no one else had. The language in her contract doesn't match anyone else's. That sentence detonated across social media. She posted screenshots. She highlighted phrases. She pointed out the inconsistencies. And fans realized instantly. Caitlin's contract wasn't just different, it was strategically different. But what made the situation explode was the clause she spotted buried inside a section so tiny most people would have missed it. A clause labeled League Equity Harmony Provision, subsection 4B. Nobody had ever seen it before. Nobody had ever heard of it. Nobody could find it in any other rookie contract. It stated, in plain English, that Caitlin's individual marketability may not supersede league branding directives, and that her external revenue opportunities may be limited in cases where disproportionate influence is determined by the board. Disproportionate influence. The board decides. Revenue opportunities restricted. Fans went insane. This is a control clause. They are trying to limit her success. This is why the WNBA salaries stay low. They are scared she's too powerful. And then, just minutes later, another attorney dug even deeper. She found something worse. A clause labeled Brand Integration Compliance Addendum Section 7. Inside that section, one line sent shockwaves across the sports world. Player agrees to participate in league-mandated promotional activations without additional compensation to preserve balanced commercial representation. Translation? The WNBA can use Caitlin for any promotional campaign, any commercial, any league event, any photo shoot, any brand rollout, even if she doesn't want to. And she can't charge them anything extra for it. Fans were furious. She's basically their unpaid spokesperson. No wonder they wanted her so badly. This is exploitation in plain sight. How do you treat the biggest star like this? But the nightmare wasn't over. Another contracts expert uncovered a clause even more disturbing, something that had never appeared in past rookie deals. League Negotiation Freeze Window, Section 11C. This clause barred Caitlin from renegotiating or restructuring any part of her contract, not after her rookie season, not after breaking records, not even after massive league-wide impact, until a full term of service had been completed, with no exceptions. No renegotiation. No leverage. No early extension. No restructuring. Even if she became the league's top draw, which she already had. The internet went into meltdown. They trapped her. They are freezing her earnings on purpose. They're using her name to grow the league but restricting her income. This is highway robbery in contract form. And that's when the first huge twist hit. A former front office employee anonymously leaked the truth. These clauses weren't standard. They were added last minute. And multiple owners demanded them. The leak continued. They were scared Caitlin would break the entire salary system. They wanted control before the explosion happened. Screenshots of internal emails began circulating, messages allegedly between owners expressing concerns like, "We must prevent a single player from dictating league economics. Her popularity cannot be allowed to disrupt existing salary tiers. We should insert preventative measures into her deal to avoid long-term bargaining issues." Fans were stunned. This wasn't incompetence. This wasn't random. This wasn't oversight. This was a coordinated effort, a quiet alliance within the WNBA ownership structure, to contain Caitlin's financial power before she even stepped onto the court. But then the twist got even darker. A source close to the WNBA Players Association revealed that they were never shown these clauses before Caitlin signed. Normally, the union reviews all rookie contracts for consistency, fairness, and alignment with the CBA. But in Caitlin's case, they rushed it through, the insider claimed. Pages were added late. Language changed at the 11th hour. The union didn't have time to cross-check. Fans were horrified. This is manipulation. The owners cheated the system. They used the excitement of draft night to hide the truth. They blindsided her and the players' union. And then came the moment that flipped the scandal upside down. A journalist released a document showing an internal memo sent to owners weeks before the draft. The memo warned, Caitlin Clark's economic influence is projected to exceed league norms by 540%. Expect significant disruption to marketing balance, revenue distribution, and league stability frameworks. The key phrase? League stability frameworks. Owners saw Caitlin as a threat to the league's long-standing financial power structure, and instead of raising salaries or updating systems, they decided to limit her. They didn't adapt the league for a young superstar. They trapped the superstar in a league that wasn't ready. But the biggest twist was still to come. Hours after the contract scandal went public, a separate leak revealed something Caitlin herself didn't know until days later. The WNBA owners had held a private meeting titled Managing the Clark Impact. Not maximizing. Not supporting. Not growing. But managing. One source claimed. They discussed her marketing value, media attention, fan influence, and financial power, and they realized she could single-handedly shift bargaining leverage in the next CBA. The room allegedly split into two factions. One group believed Caitlin should be embraced, supported, and used as a model for future growth. But the other group, the more powerful one, believed she needed to be contained. They didn't think it was healthy for a rookie to hold that much leverage, the insider said. They wanted to keep the league's economic model intact. And that group won. That's why the contract is full of limiting clauses. That's why renegotiation is blocked. That's why promotional demands are mandatory. That's why owners have override authority. But the twist doesn't stop there. Because a new leak, posted by someone claiming to have direct knowledge of the meeting, said the quiet part out loud. They were afraid Caitlin would become bigger than the league, and they needed to secure control before she realized her value. That line broke the internet. Fans were livid. Players were disgusted. Analysts called it a blueprint to suppress a generational star. But the true shock? Some owners wanted to go even further. According to the leak, proposals were made to cap her endorsement earnings and force her into revenue-sharing structures benefiting the league. They didn't implement those ideas, but they tried. The goal was clear. Limit Caitlin's power. Limit her income. Limit her leverage. Limit her influence. Before she ever touched a WNBA court. And that's when the entire scandal took a terrifying turn, because insiders revealed they weren't done. The contract wasn't just a cage. It was part one of a much bigger plan. A plan that was already unfolding before anyone noticed. A plan involving league committees, media obligations, and a secret revenue strategy. A plan that could reshape her entire career trajectory. And the next leak would expose everything. Just when fans thought the scandal had reached its peak, just when everyone believed the worst thing WNBA owners had done was manipulate Caitlin's rookie contract, a new leak emerged that made the previous revelations look like a warm-up. Because the clauses weren't the real plan. They weren't even half of it. They were the cover, the part owners expected people to notice eventually. The real plot. That was buried deeper. Hidden behind committees, marketing decisions, and league development initiatives. And it took ONE whistleblower, someone inside the league office, to expose the bombshell that detonated the entire basketball world. The message they sent to a journalist was only 5 words. Her contract was step 1. Step 1. Those 2 words set the internet on fire. because suddenly everyone realized. If the contract was step 1, what were steps 2, 3, and 4? The whistleblower explained. There was a full strategy drafted months before she entered the league. A strategy to control her image, her market power, and her influence, not just for this season, but for years. Fans were horrified. But the next revelation was even worse. A document titled, Clark Integration Initiative, leaked online. It wasn't written like a business memo or a marketing plan. It read like a blueprint, a calculated, multi-phase project designed to shape Caitlyn's presence in the league while limiting her autonomy. 3 sections in particular sent shockwaves everywhere. Section 1, Media Distribution Oversight. This gave owners the ability to approve, or block, any major media appearance Caitlyn made. Press tours, brand interviews, podcast features, endorsement-related PR. It all had to be run past league executives. Nothing could be done independently. Fans screamed online. They OWN her image. This is modern-day contract slavery. No wonder they rushed her deal through. But Section 2 was even darker. Section 2, Revenue Balance Protection. This clause explained why the owners were in a panic. It revealed that Caitlyn's projected individual revenue, from sponsorships, jersey sales, endorsements, and brand building, would exceed the combined revenue of 6 existing WNBA franchises within her first 2 seasons. And owners didn't want that. The document said, player-generated revenue disparities pose a threat to long-term league hierarchy. Translation? If Caitlyn became too successful, too fast, she could financially overshadow entire teams. She could wield influence no rookie has ever held. She could demand real change, higher salaries, better facilities, more transparency, and the league wouldn't be able to stop her. So instead of rising with her, the owners built structures to contain her. But Section 3. That was the one that sent the players' union into full-blown revolt. Section 3, Controlled Visibility Rotation. This section outlined a secret plan to rotate Caitlyn's media attention, meaning certain games, interviews, and promotions would be strategically restricted to prevent her from overshadowing other athletes. This was the torpedo. This was the line that destroyed whatever illusion of fairness the league had left. Because the leak included quotes from owners saying things like, her spotlight must be moderated for league stability. Overexposure risks imbalance in team star allocation. We can't let one player dominate the narrative. Fans were enraged. You want her to be less famous. You're trying to shrink your biggest star. The WNBA is actively fighting growth. And just like that, the scandal reached a new level, because this wasn't just about Caitlyn anymore. This exposed how the league treated all its players. Veterans began speaking out anonymously. One owner said no rookie should be allowed to out-earn veterans. We were warned Caitlyn's popularity could destabilize dynamics. They acted like controlling her was protecting us. Other players weren't buying it. Suddenly, a divide formed. A deep, emotional, public divide. One group of players was furious for Caitlyn, calling the league manipulative, dishonest, and terrified of progress. Another group felt threatened by her rising influence, because they had spent years building their identities in a league that barely marketed them. Social media turned into a war zone. She's being punished for being great. Veterans are jealous. No, veterans are being disrespected too. It's the owners playing everyone against each other. And the craziest part? The owners knew this divide would happen. Buried in the leaked document was a chilling line. Managing player-to-player perception is essential to maintaining internal stability. Translation? They expected players to turn on each other. They planned for it. They benefited from it. Divide and conquer. In a women's sports league. In 2026. But the scandal still wasn't done. Because while players were fighting online, sponsors began asking questions. Big sponsors. Nike, Gatorade, Honda, Major network investors. Streaming partners. One source said. Brands are furious. They invested in Caitlyn, not in a system restricting her. Another wrote. If the league doesn't fix this, sponsors will pull out. That threat terrified owners more than anything else. Because the truth is, Caitlyn wasn't just a star. She was the centerpiece of a new economic model. Sponsors didn't come for the WNBA. They came for her. And the thought of losing those deals? Financially catastrophic. So owners scrambled. Meetings were held at midnight. PR teams wrote emergency statements. Some owners blamed others. Some wanted to leak counter-narratives. Some argued they needed to soften public perception. But the next shock came from an unexpected place. A coach. A real WNBA coach leaked audio from a private ownership call, the kind of call that was supposed to stay confidential forever. In the recording, an owner can be heard saying, "We need her in the league, but we can't let her drive it." The audio spread like wildfire. Millions heard it. Celebrities reposted it. Former players slammed it. Sports analysts said it confirmed everything fans feared. The WNBA wanted Caitlyn Clark's fame. But not her power. They wanted her money. But not her autonomy. They wanted her influence. As long as they controlled it. But then the biggest shock of the night hit, and it wasn't from a leak. It came from Caitlyn herself. She didn't go live. She didn't rant. She didn't expose anything directly. She simply posted one sentence. "I know what they're doing." The entire internet stopped. Comments exploded. "She knows. Oh, this is about to get ugly. WNBA owners should be terrified. Drop the truth, Caitlyn." The post stayed up for 12 minutes. Then it disappeared. Deleted. Fans panicked. Some said she was pressured. Some said her team advised her to remove it. Some said the league called her directly. But insiders claim something even scarier. She didn't delete it. Someone else did. And that meant the situation had crossed the line from unethical to dangerous. Because if Caitlyn herself couldn't control her own posts, then the owners hadn't just written restrictive clauses. They were actively enforcing them. And the final twist? Insiders claim the next leak, the one still hidden, involves a clause the public hasn't seen yet. A clause that could destroy the league's credibility. A clause that could void her contract entirely. A clause so outrageous even the owners are terrified it will come out. And sources say, it's coming soon. The moment the leaked documents hit the internet, the moment fans realized WNBA owners didn't just restrict Caitlyn Clark's contract but engineered an entire system around controlling her, the sports world went into full-scale meltdown. It wasn't a controversy anymore. It wasn't a rumor. It wasn't speculation. It was a scandal. And the first group to erupt wasn't fans. It was players. WNBA players began posting cryptic messages. "This ain't what we signed up for. We knew something felt off. Transparency is long overdue. Protect rookies." All rookies. Some were clearly furious. Some were clearly scared. Some were clearly trying to distance themselves from the league entirely. And the comments under these posts. "A war. She's being exploited. You're jealous of her." No, the owners exploited everyone. This league is built on lies. Let Caitlyn leave if she wants. Then came the former players, the legends, the pioneers, the ones who built the WNBA from nothing. Their reactions were even more intense. One wrote, "This league has been suppressing star power for years. Caitlyn is just the first one big enough for fans to notice." Another said, "If these documents are real, the WNBA is playing a dangerous game." But the most viral comment came from a retired all-star who said, "They want the attention she brings, but not the power she earns." That line spread across TikTok like wildfire. Meanwhile, ESPN analysts began breaking down the leaked clauses live on air. One analyst slammed her hands on the desk and yelled, "This is not normal. This is not standard. This is not how you treat the most valuable player you've ever had." Another analyst tried to defend the league, and immediately got roasted by viewers for protecting the owners. But what nobody expected was the NBA jumping into the conversation. NBA players, big names, began reacting. One tweeted, "If this happened to ANY rookie in our league, there'd be riots." Another wrote, "Women's basketball deserves better." But the comment that broke everything was posted by a current NBA superstar. "Caitlyn should walk." Today? Within seconds, the tweet had hundreds of thousands of likes. Within minutes, it made national headlines. Within hours, sponsors began panicking. Because the next shock came from corporate America, the companies who had invested millions into Caitlyn's brand, her image, her partnerships, her global reach. Gatorade executives reportedly held an emergency call. Nike representatives demanded a private meeting with the league. State Farm issued a statement saying they were monitoring the situation closely. A brand manager leaked this horrifying line: "We didn't sign the WNBA. We signed Caitlyn Clark." Boom. Earthquake. Nuclear level fallout. Because the moment sponsors started showing signs of pulling away, the WNBA realized the true danger. If Caitlyn's influence collapses, so does their revenue. But it was too late. The players' union stepped in next, and they came in hot. One union rep told a reporter, "We were deliberately kept out of this process. We never approved these clauses. We want answers immediately." Another union source went even further. "If these documents are verified, this could lead to the biggest labor battle in WNBA history." Suddenly, what started as a contract scandal had become a league-wide political crisis. And that's when journalists uncovered the most shocking pattern yet. Multiple owners had been meeting privately, without the commissioner present, to discuss Caitlyn's economic impact risk months before the draft. This wasn't a last-minute panic. This wasn't spontaneous. This wasn't improvised. It was calculated. A strategic plan to limit the most marketable player in women's basketball before she ever touched the court. And when this story hit mainstream media, everything exploded. CNN ran a headline: "Is the WNBA controlling Caitlyn Clark?" Fox News ran, "Rookie exploited? Rising WNBA star restricted by league owners." TMZ posted, "WNBA owners hid secret plan to limit Caitlyn Clark." Even international outlets began reporting it. But the final blow came not from players, sponsors, journalists, or fans. It came from college athletes. Future stars. Young women who had once dreamed of entering the WNBA now began questioning everything. One top NCAA scorer tweeted, "If this is how they treat their biggest star, what chance do the rest of us have?" Another wrote, "I'm reconsidering the WNBA. Overseas starting to look real good." This was the league's worst nightmare. Because losing Caitlyn would hurt. But losing the next generation of stars? That could kill the league. And the WNBA knew it, which is why they scrambled to release a late-night statement that only made things worse. The league claimed, "All rookie contracts follow standard procedure." Fans responded, "Lie? Stop gaslighting. We've seen the documents." The statement continued, "We believe misinformation is being circulated." Fans replied, "Then show the real contract. You can't hide this anymore. Release the documents or resign." But the final sentence of the WNBA's statement was the one that destroyed what little trust remained. "We stand by our commitment to fairness and balanced growth for all players." Balanced growth. The same phrase used in the leaked memo about limiting Caitlyn's exposure. And that's when the last explosion hit. A whistleblower released a voice memo allegedly from an owner saying, "If she gets too big, we'll lose control." Fans weren't just angry now. They were done. TikTok lives ran for hours with creators screaming about corruption. Twitter turned into a war zone. ESPN ran emergency special coverage. And supporters began demanding the one thing owners prayed would never happen: free Caitlin Clark. But the real cliffhanger came when a journalist revealed that the most incriminating clause, the one even the owners are terrified of, still hasn't leaked. And according to insiders, it's the one that will end careers. The entire WNBA was already collapsing under the weight of leaks, scandals, and exploding public fury, but nobody, not even the loudest critics, was prepared for the final twist. Because just when it seemed like every hidden clause, every shady meeting, and every manipulative move had already surfaced, the most dangerous document of all finally leaked. The clause owners were terrified of. The clause insiders whispered about in DMs. The clause lawyers said cannot exist under any ethical sports contract. A reporter posted it at 3:11 a.m. with the caption, "This is the one they tried to bury." And when fans opened it, the entire sports world stopped breathing. The clause was titled, Player Narrative Management Provision, Section 14. Narrative. Management. Provision. 3 words that should never be in a sports contract. The section stated, in writing, that the league reserved the right to shape, modify, or restrict public narratives surrounding player performance, behavior, or market position to preserve league equity. In plain English, the WNBA legally gave itself the power to control Caitlin Clark's public image, interviews, media framing, storylines, coverage tone, reputation. They could push narratives they liked and bury narratives they didn't. They could tone down her stardom. They could control how much praise she received. They could limit storylines calling her the future of the league. They could even, according to one lawyer, justify suspending or fining her for publicly contradicting their chosen narrative. This wasn't a contract. It was a silencing mechanism. The internet exploded instantly. This is evil. They wanted full control. This is worse than anything the NBA ever did. Caitlin wasn't just restricted, she was muzzled. But the real horror came from the final paragraph of Section 14, which stated, in cases where a player's influence threatens league stability, the league may intervene directly to recalibrate public sentiment. Recalibrate public sentiment. A phrase so dystopian that analysts thought it was fake. But lawyers confirmed it. It was real. It was legally binding. And Caitlin Clark had already signed it. But here's the twist that left everyone shaking. This clause wasn't written for Caitlin. It was written because of her. A second leak dropped minutes later, an internal memo from the league commissioner to the owners saying, "We expect an unprecedented media surge around this athlete. Narrative safeguards will be necessary." Narrative safeguards. Safeguards against Caitlin. It wasn't jealousy. It wasn't fear of other players feeling overshadowed. It wasn't an attempt to balance the league. It was a plan to prevent Caitlin Clark from becoming bigger than the WNBA. And the players' union? They were blindsided again. A union rep told reporters, "This clause is illegal. This clause is unethical. This clause is a violation of player rights." Meanwhile, fans were demanding immediate action. Void her contract. Dissolve the owner's board. Fire everyone involved. But the WNBA owners weren't backing down. Not yet. Because the next twist revealed WHY Section 14 existed, and this was the part that flipped the narrative upside down. A whistleblower revealed that before Caitlin was drafted, several WNBA owners were warned privately that she might eventually demand her own media deals, demand a revenue share from broadcasting, demand higher salaries for all players, negotiate individual streaming rights, build a separate brand independent of the league. One owner allegedly said, If she figures out her true market value, she'll own us. So Section 14 wasn't about stopping her rise. It was about stopping her from realizing she could rise without them. And that's when the darkest bomb dropped. A final leaked email, the one that could end careers, contained a single chilling line. If necessary, we can shift the narrative to humble her. Shift the narrative. Humble her. A deliberate plan to knock Caitlin Clark down in the public eye if she became too powerful. Fans went feral. You want to humble a generational star? This is sick. The WNBA doesn't deserve Caitlin Clark. They tried to dim her light on purpose. But the last twist, the real cliffhanger, came at sunrise. Caitlin herself finally broke her silence. She didn't post a paragraph. She didn't release a statement. She didn't tag anyone. She posted one screenshot. A text message. Sent from an unknown number. It read, "They can't stop the truth anymore." The post stayed up for exactly 4 minutes. Then it vanished. Fans screenshot it instantly. Sponsors saw it. Journalists saw it. Players saw it. And insiders believe Caitlin didn't delete it at all, someone else did. Which means only one thing. She knows. She's aware of the clauses. She knows about the narrative control. She knows about the owner's plan to humble her. And she's preparing to fight back. But the cliffhanger? A source close to Caitlin said. She's not the only player they did this to. And she's done staying quiet. If Caitlin exposes everything, not just her contract, but the entire system behind it, she won't just change her future. She might end the WNBA as we know it. Because the truth is out now. The owners can't control the narrative anymore. The real story is loose. And the next leak will decide everything. So now the entire world is staring at one question, a question the WNBA owners prayed fans would never ask. What happens when the player you try to control refuses to stay silent anymore? Because Caitlin Clark's last message, that 4-minute post they tried to delete, wasn't just a warning. It was a promise. A declaration. A signal that the truth is coming whether the league likes it or not. But now you tell me. Do you think the WNBA knowingly manipulated her contract? Do you believe the leaked documents are real? Do you think the owners built a system to suppress their biggest star? Or do you think this is all a misunderstanding the league can still fix? Drop your take in the comments, all of it. Be loud. Be honest. Be unfiltered. And the big question. Should Caitlin Clark void her contract and walk away from the WNBA? Should she take her talents overseas? Should she sue? Should she expose everything they've been hiding? Or should she stay and fight from the inside? Every comment counts, because right now, sponsors, journalists, and even owners are watching public reaction like their careers depend on it. Make sure you like this video if you are standing with Caitlin and want the full truth exposed. Share this with someone who needs to understand how deep this story really goes. And hit subscribe with all notifications turned on, because trust me, the next update isn't going to be calm. Not after this. Not after Section 14. Not after the humble her email. Not after Caitlin's message. They can't stop the truth anymore. This saga is far from over. The leaks aren't done. The owners aren't safe. And Caitlin Clark is just getting started. Stay tuned. The real battle begins now.